Yes, guys, welcome back to the instant reaction. Arsenal 5, Sporting CP, I think they're called, 1. Before this evening, Arsenal had failed to score in their last 4 Champions League away games. Tonight, they equal their best ever away win in the UCL era, while their XG of 3.9 is their most in an away match in the Champions League on record since 2013-14. The perfect away display. I think that was maybe our best performance under Arteta in the Champions League, away from home, certainly. And here to discuss it with me are Forder. Hello, sir.
Hello, mate.
And a debutant on the IR, Will Balsam. Will, you can find normally on our youth side. So we do a youth pod called Youth Focus. Will's been doing that for us and he's decided to jump on the IR. So a pleasure to have you, sir. How are you?
I'm fantastic after that match. Come on, How much better could I be?
Exactly. And we'll start with a super chat from Harry Scary. Ladies and gentlemen, Arsenal's season has begun. Yes, indeed. Will, come to you first. Yeah, a really dominant evening, a really impressive evening. I will say I think that was probably our best Champions League performance under Arteta. I think the first half I was like on cloud 9 and I kind of like came down a little bit towards the end of it. If we'd done this at halftime, I would be possibly on the beers. It's so nice to have that sort of performance, especially in the Champions League. Just your overall thoughts to start us off.
I mean, that first 10 minutes was like, I could not believe what I was watching. I mean, we could have had 3-4 goals in the first 10, and it just comes down to Martin Odegaard. I mean, you can say what you want about this team, and Saka is the best player on this team, but what Martin Odegaard adds to that right-hand side with Timber and Calafiori, the balance is just perfect. It allows Martinelli to be better on the left-hand side. Everything just revolves around him, and I think for so much of the season, we felt like we missed him in the final third, but to me, we missed him the most in phase 1, just building up from the back and creating so much there. And that was just so clear today in that first 10, 15 minutes. I mean, it opened up the whole match for us, and then we had them on their heels for the rest of the game.
We read it, man. We're going to come to each player individually, but like Martin Odegaard, the impact this guy has on, as you say, in every single phase of our play, we just look like a completely different team with him in it. It's not just him. It is the impact he has on other players and his individual actions. I think we do just play slightly differently with him in the team. And I kind of want to come to that. But just the who we are, mate, when Odegaard's in the team is just unbelievable. Alex, your overall thoughts, please, mate.
Yeah, I think I put a tweet out saying something along the lines of Odegaard is an assistant player. He is the system. Like the difference to our team. How ironic that we're saying, 2 weeks out after people were saying the season's over. Now we're saying the season's begun, and it's true. What a difference it makes having 11 men on the pitch and players that are fit, all ready to play in Arteta's system. It was unbelievable. It's one of the best Champions League nights I can remember for a long, long time. I know obviously it's probably our best away performance under Arteta, but it's one of the best I can remember. And I'm a little bit older than you guys, so that's saying something.
Yeah, I think especially in the Champions League. Yeah, man, just so pleasing. So pleasing. I think I'm trying to sort of collect my thoughts. I mean, that right-hand side, just sort of more generally, I think Timber's role is so key. Timber was unbelievable this evening. Unbelievable. He is world class in every phase. The underlaps, the overlaps, the sort of his ability to time things, his technical security, like everything. There was points in the first half where it literally looked like a training game. They were just knocking it around. Sporting had absolutely nothing for us. We'll come to the goal. We'll come to one of the goals, to Gabriel's celebration with Gyökeres, which literally made me scream. But yeah, just unbelievable. It's so nice to feel and you sort of mentioned it, Alex, like we're showing who we are. I think one of my big frustrations with this team and the big frustrations with the sort of the narrative that this opening season is this kind of referendum we have every single time when we have a poor dip in form, or whether we're a good team. We know we can do that. And yes, okay, we've needed to show that, but I'm not I'm delighted, but I'm not sat here going, that's a version of Arsenal I didn't even know existed. Of course it existed. And we knew it. We've seen it happen before. So Will, like, I don't know, for me, I get really annoyed because I'm like, it just feels like every time we have this sort of, this huge, the best word is a referendum. We have should we leave the Arsenal European Union or not every time. And I just want people to remember this moment and be like, oh no, we can do that. We can do that.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. And you look at the rest of the season, like it's not even a referee thing, like just a bunch of weird things had gone down. And if you're an Arsenal fan, you'd rather it happen now. It's going to happen at some point. I mean, look at City today. They blew a 3-0 lead to Feyenoord at home. Like those types of things are just, they kind of happen in the sport. That's why we love the sport. That's why Leicester City won a Premier League. Like random ass shit just happens. And it happened at the perfect time because if you think about it, you know, a month later than this point in the season last year, we were in panic mode going into the new year, and then we went on the run. So maybe we've got a 1 month head start on that run this year instead of, you know, waiting 1 more month to get it done into the busiest time of the year. We got through these weird, like 3 international breaks in the opening 3 months. I can't remember the last time that's happened. Like it's just been a totally strange situation. And tonight, and for us a little bit, but tonight really felt like the team's up and running. Here we go. Everything could happen in the next 6 months. It could be quite special.
For sure. And Alex, like, you know, I think we even spoke about it. Like, it just all felt too early to conclude anything. And that's why, like, nights like this feel sort of so good. I want to talk sort of more specifically about the tactical side of the game. I thought we obviously completely controlled things. I think the lack of compactness from Sporting was a big gift for us. Our ability to break the lines was I don't want to say amazing because I'm not sure how much it was us, but the ability of Odegaard dropping out the block, of Timber dropping out the block, it just completely pulled them apart. We were finding and connecting inside so easily. This is a game where I think if Waneri started that game, I'm not trying to take away from Odegaard, but the space that the playmaker would have had in that game, that would have changed his world, I'm telling you. But obviously, it was Odegaard, I'm not taking away from him. But yeah, I thought the spacing and the way we sort of pulled them apart, Saka and Timber and Odegaard in that pocket on the right hand side. Our counter press, I always felt the counter press was going to be useful in this game because Sporting do have, who is that guy from Spurs? Edwards, is that his name?
Yeah,
he loves running with it. Gyökeres loves running with it. They had that right back who's 17. I've seen just clips of just running up and down. They love running. And I felt we did so well to just stop them in their tracks, control the ball, control the game. And yeah, tactically, I was really, really pleased with what we did, Alex.
Yeah, it was really interesting, actually. Before the game, I said about Jorginho, and I thought, is this the kind of game? I understand transitionally he has his flaws, but I thought in the first half against Forest, he did really well to kind of control the pace. And away from home, we haven't been composed at times, I'll say. I haven't been overly impressed, and I haven't felt confident away from home in the Champions League, but I was completely wrong on this one. I mean, the fact that our pressing was just unbelievable. And I think at times, you mentioned it just then, there were times where we had the blindside runs from like Saka and Havertz were getting positions that most teams seem to know, and they're kind of well versed in how, they shut us down. And with that 3-4-3 that they kind of use and employ a lot of times for Sporting, I thought we had answers to every single question that they gave us. It's really nice as well in defense that it doesn't seem that any striker we come up against now we worry about. We've got an excellent Saliba was just imperious today. He's just such a good, he's unbelievable. And it's so nice because I'm a big admirer of Gyökeres. I love the way that he plays. He's quite bullish in the way that he picks up the ball, and at every opportunity he tries to move the ball forwards. But there was it never troubled us. It never troubled us, and I think we were expansive at the right times. We were very, very good, and a 4-4-2 block when we needed to. It was perfect showing.
And you know what's funny, Will? Like, there's players in that team, we're going to go through individually. There's players in that team who I didn't think had like the best evening. I didn't think Calafiori had a brilliant evening. I didn't think Rice had his best evening. I didn't think Martinelli had his best evening. But it kind of didn't matter. I'm not saying they had a poor evening. I'm just saying, compared to the...
You did mention the 3 left-hand side guys while the whole match was played down the right-hand side.
It's the left. It's the left. But even specifically in other moments, there was moments where I felt like Rice was slightly overthinking it on the transition. There was a couple of moments where I think Rice was late to press. But like, it's complete nitpicking because overall we look so dominant.
I mean, there's no doubt. Even Havertz, like obviously he did quite a bit tonight, but I don't think it was his best match. I don't think. Sometimes I feel like he drags himself so far out wide when that right hand side is so fluid. I'd rather see him just being a presence in the middle of the box. I feel like it gets a little bit overcrowded over there on the right hand side, especially with. And a big thing I've seen with Odegaard coming back in the side is like, yes, Timber likes to be forward, but Timber sometimes is the furthest forward on that right hand side because he's just so comfortable receiving in between the lines up there, and it just opens everything up. And I mean, it was just incredible to see.
Bro, he's standing on the last line. He's standing, like Saka and Odegaard dropped out. He's just stood. And again, White gives us something else. This isn't a shade on White, but Ben White can't do that. He can't go and stand inside on the last line and be comfortable.
Well, he's never going to receive the ball with his back to the goal like that. There's nothing for him to do with the ball there. It's just going backwards.
Exactly. So it gives us such a different dynamic. And yeah, I was so pleased. I also just thought, again, something we discussed on the instant reaction on Saturday was around like we spend a lot of time talking about systems and tactics and I think we sort of 2-2-2 in the press, which worked really well, and you can talk all that stuff. Ultimately, this is underpinned by execution. This is underpinned by how are you actually winning your duels? Are you actually passing to the right foot? Are you actually when you can see a pass through the lines, can you literally go and pull that off? I think something I'm really excited about at Arsenal at the minute is we look sharp. And I think something I want to come to you, Alex, is like the impact of not having... the impact, I think Arteta's mentioned it in press conferences. He said, I've got the whole group together now. Saka's not gone away. Odegaard's not gone away. Rice hasn't gone away. We've had a bit of time and a little bit of rest. Even the impact of Rice and who came off this evening, Martinelli, Rice, Odegaard, like the freshness that we can have with this squad, it's so important. You see that. And Will, you mentioned earlier, like Kai Havertz, his performance. But what I will say is at the very end, 94th minute, he's tracking back.
Definitely. Yeah.
And that's because he was rested on Saturday, by the way. Do you know what I mean? Like that, he's able to do that.
And even that little passage of play with Partey in the midfield, kind of in like the 84th, 85th minute, where they were just kind of playing around with it, just to give us a little bit more rest for everybody. Like it's those little things. I remember 2 years ago, like we'd have a lead and you would just never see that. It was just coming at us for the last 15 minutes. The Rob Holding with the 5 at the back, like it was just brutal to see.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, and it was really professional as well. I'm just showering compliments at the team, Alex. Really.
No, I'm 100% with you. Like, what a nice change it's been since before the international break, where it felt like we couldn't get a break. Ironically, we kind of talked about on here that we needed that rest. I think us as fans, we needed a mental rest, and it was. For the players, they seemed prepared for this game. From what I could hear, it sounded like a pretty hostile environment. So from almost every throw-in, there were whistles, boos constantly. And it was really nice to see that the players seemed in a place where they could relax, shut down the game, play in the right method, really, in the right way. But I know we keep coming back to Timber, but for me, there are so many times where he was able to kind of pick the ball up in central zones and kind of take the responsibility away from Odegaard. And we haven't had that. I think the last time we were on an instant reaction, I had George in a car having an instant reaction. It wasn't the nicest one.
And I looked it up and George was in a car and I was like, what is this man doing?
Yeah, and then he just abandoned me at one point. But I mean, it's such a nice time to come on because I have been saying that Ben White, I love Ben White, but he wasn't giving us any other options. There wasn't even an overlap with Ben White at the time. And maybe what it was to do with this injury that we now know about. But Timber was just giving us so many options. Like his dynamism in the pocket is something that we don't really have many profiles for. And the only other player I could really think about with that was like Partey. This is one of his best performances that I have seen in a long, long time. And I know we talk about balance quite often, but on a performance like that, he cannot be dropped out of this team. Like he has been.
Yeah, I think when you give him the spaces he had, he is undroppable at that point. Big Cheese, thank you so much for your super chat. Great performance. Obviously doesn't matter now, but how in the fuck does Diomande avoid his second yellow on the penalty? That man had a horror show of a game. Yeah, that was. I didn't get that, and also then he hit Martinelli in the face.
Yeah.
That one they didn't even spend any time on. Like he just whacked him. First he looked at him, and then he whacked him in the face, and they didn't even care. I mean, didn't matter.
Did the ref think that it was like double jeopardy for a red card or something and think, oh, it's a straight red.
I've
Or
genuinely
it was
given up
so
on the
bizarre.
Double jeopardy. That
I've
gives me just
given up on the
flashbacks.
rules.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to us though. Ivan Smith, that performance is made even better by City bottling a 3-0 lead as well. What a night! Yeah, unbelievable. I don't know what is happening at Man City, but again, this is my frustration with some of you. I'm okay. We have 31 or maybe 32 games until the next international break. Just think how much football that is. Nothing is decided yet. Nothing at all. So I'm not sat here saying Arsenal are going to win the Champions League or the Premier League. I'm sat here saying, I told you we're still good and chill out. That's all I was saying the whole time. And you know who you are. Right, let's go to the individual performances then. David Raya, to be fair, second half, David Raya pulled off a couple of decent stops. And I think again his execution was really brilliant on Saturday in terms of his distribution. Will, thoughts on Raya, who I thought had one of his normal evenings, which is what I love to hear with the goalkeeper.
It's just so fun to watch him. I mean, I don't even care about the saves. What he does with the ball at his feet, stepping in between the center backs. Like there was a moment, I think it was like 30, I wrote it down, 39-20. Odegaard just stepped right in and it brought a defender and he just chipped one over the top to Timber. And it was just like, oh, that is so beautiful. Like that is just such a nice thing to have. Like it's just an automatic bailout. And that's the kind of thing, honestly, with Odegaard in the buildup when even he doesn't touch the ball. And I think to your point, you mentioned something about Nwaneri earlier. It's like, those are the things he'll have to learn in order to play that role super successfully. There's no doubt he's a playmaker, but those little things that Odegaard even himself had to learn. And they just the partnership with Raya and the understanding of his ability to make that pass. But yeah, he made a couple of nice saves in the half. And, he commands his box as well as anyone, even for a shorter goalkeeper, let's call him.
Short King. Guys, he's writing down time codes. He's one of us.
I love that.
He's love that. I've got quite a few about Martinelli to aid my agenda. Timber, we've kind of discussed. I don't know if there's any more for you there, Alex. Saliba and Gabriel,
no,
talk about them.
All I was going to say is that Timber's popping up with more big chances again as well. Something that sometimes goes unnoted with him. Like he is so good in every zone. But am
I going too early to call him world class?
He's in the conversation.
I think in our group of defenders, I think Saliba and Gabriel are easily world class. I think Timber is world class. I think Ben White is world class, but I need to see him without his injury just to reaffirm that. I think Timber's world class. I think Calafiori's got a way to go. I think he might get there, but I do think Timber's world class.
Does Timber's versatility hurt his world class argument? Because I feel like that's sometimes a thing where it's like he's so good at multiple positions, even midfield, and it's like, well, he's really good at all these, but he's not world class because we don't get to see it enough. I go back and forth on that.
It's the Oxlade-Chamberlain situation, except at a lower level. Sure. But yeah, Alex, Saliba and Gabriel.
Just what a performance from both of them. Unbelievable. Prior to the game, most people would say they'd have their hands full on that field, but that just never seemed to be anything but assured in possession, out of possession. The corner could be debated why there was so much space on that, and I'm sure we'll come to that later. But I wouldn't kind of pick out either for at fault for that goal. They were just so good, and it's so nice at times to see Gabriel pushing up as well. He started earlier in the season. I think it was an instant reaction. We did, Alex, and we mentioned it, and he was picking up the ball in left-hand zones, but just so good. And the goal, just big Abby. Has that hurt our chances of getting Gyökeres maybe? But I don't
almost certainly.
And by the way, Saka in the background doing it as well.
Yeah, that was way better.
Yeah, I think you can you see him? Is that
yes? You can see his.
Oh
his arm.
That potentially is his hand. What's so mad about our team at the minute in terms of our out of possession stuff is if you put a world class striker on the last line and leave him alone, you're done. But if you put two, you're done up the other end. Yeah. So I think with players like Gyökeres and I think like even Haaland, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with Arsenal because if you don't have a spare man further back, we will kill you in the press. So you have to leave you 2v1 on the last line, and then unless you can get service, strikers look so ordinary. So I don't want to judge Gyökeres too hard on this evening because he was left 2v1, but basically most of the evening systemically. But yeah, I mean, I will say this happened, and I genuinely was screaming. If he'd have scored and it was like a closer game, I think I might be sat here saying something slightly different. So I have to be fair. I think they went a little bit early, but hey, I still love it. Calafiori, I'll take Calafiori. I think he's been a little bit more reserved in the last few games. Certainly Forest and this game, which I like. I'm still waiting for the sort of Leicester level impact I've had. I think he can have on the left hand side, and I still think we're waiting for balance there. There's a conversation about our right and our left hand side, obviously. I still think he's just a little bit jumpy. He's still. There was a couple of moments where he got himself caught, and then there's space in behind. And I don't mind it, but when you're playing a conservative game, if you're saying, okay, Timber's the guy going today, I need you more secure. If you're the guy going today, I can deal with that because then the trade-off is happening. I can see you getting stuff at the other end. But when Timber's the guy stepping onto the last line, I need Calafiori more secure. Well, I don't know how you feel about that. He's still brilliant. This is a small critique.
I think it's like one of those things where he's one of the few players where he's making a step up from a far different setup to where Arsenal are now. And there are clearly some things where it's like almost he switches off even a bit on that corner. Like he just kind of slipped and then they scored the goal. Like he's had a few of those moments. Obviously, I think it was the first Liverpool goal or the first City goal where he kind of overstepped. And then it was a City goal. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, and it's a couple of moments like that. He makes up for it in possession, and obviously the fact that he also can receive the ball in between the lines as the furthest man forward on the left side. So I'm not worried about it. I think those are the kinds of things where he's a little bit raw, and that's what makes him so exciting and springy in a lot of ways. But there's definitely a little more concern with him defending than with Timber defending.
Yeah, I hear that. We've sort of discussed the midfield mostly. Alex, Declan Rice. I had to be reminded, to be fair, I think he's still got a broken toe. He's certainly, there's something going on with there, so I don't want to go too hard on him. I've not got anything new to say, guys. I just don't think he's a left 8. Basically, I prefer him deeper on the pitch. And until he goes there, there's going to be a limitation on what I think he can do. I think he did okay, but until he goes deeper, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not much to add to that. The only thing I did notice that at times Odegaard and Rice kind of gave each other the freedom. So Rice actually sometimes came to the tip of the diamond, which was really, really interesting. Yeah. And then Odegaard was picking him out, which is something that we haven't seen in recent matches. Not recent years. But apart from that, I'm with you. I think the security gives you in transition is why he needs to play as a 6. But like I said earlier, with Partey playing like that, I just don't see how we can drop him right now. And maybe it is a time that we look and we say, actually, we have to drop our £100 million player and play for balance. And maybe you put Marino in that left 8 role.
Yeah, I mean, Will, he's not undroppable. And the thing is it's no question mark about Rice's quality. My question mark has never been Rice's quality. It's about balance always. And my belief is that a Rice deeper with Marino and Odegaard ahead of them would be our best midfield. That's my opinion. But I still haven't seen it. In enough of a sample, so I can't be that sure. Your thoughts on Rice?
Yeah, it's a confusing one because it's also like, could Rice possibly play kind of more on the Odegaard side of things and Odegaard at left center midfield? Like we've kind of always wanted to see that. We think his pass angles maybe are a little bit better from there. We've seen some incredible balls. That one to Havertz against Chelsea obviously comes to mind immediately. And you pay that fee for Rice. And obviously, you mentioned like Rice was maybe our worst starter today. Worst is not a great word, but maybe our least performing starter today. And we just went away in the Champions League 1-5-1. If I told you that 12 months ago, you would look at me like we were in the Europa League, probably not the Champions League. So it is a hard one to answer. It's hard for me to say taking Declan Rice out of the side makes any sense. And I think it hurts our attacking dynamic. But again, I think with Partey, you lose a little bit of that security and transition at the 6. And Rice does tend to cover that even when he's playing as that left-sided 8. I can't see a world in which our best 11 does not include Declan Rice in it. It's just too hard for me to possibly envision that.
So we hate Rice. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. He's shit.
Always prefer Cusco.
Sell in the January transfer window.
Yeah. Get him on loan to West Ham.
Just get rid of him.
You got a choice. You can have Saka, you can have Martinelli, or you can have Havertz. And whoever, I'll go with whoever's last. We'll start.
Will, go first.
Saka. I mean, There's just nothing else to say other than a goal and an assist is like his baseline performance. So he just had an average day out there, wasn't doing much. I don't know what I liked better, that he continues to go to the same place when he takes penalties and continues to score, which
Sorry,
is,
Matt.
I don't really know how the goalies aren't stopping it, but it was a great penalty. And that one-touch assist was just, I mean, his movement with Odegaard and the thing about Partey, I think that you don't necessarily get with Rice is that vertical passing that Saka is so good at getting in behind and getting on the ends of those balls. And today was just a masterclass in that.
He's, I'm gonna say something controversial. He's good at football. Alex, who do you want to take?
I'll take Martinelli, actually. I wasn't going to, but I've been someone that's kind of stuck up for him. So I will continue that. Our left side wasn't kind of at its fluent best. Whether or not that's because Rice has been put back in that left 8 role, maybe is because Calafiori's still not kind of up and running and he was jumping, as you say, at certain times. But I just think for Martinelli, the one good thing I saw today was he was actually getting himself in positions again. And it's something that he kind of flits in and out of. I've said many times on here about his entry into the box, and he didn't have many opportunities to kind of do that. But the first goal to kind of get us off and running, it was great to see him in that position, because quite often he's kind of on the outside of the box and then retrieving and then, playing cutbacks and things like that. It's quite nice to see him in those positions. Having said that, I think there was like 4 recoveries. I don't think he won any duels today, unfortunately. So, I mean, all in all, it wasn't a bad performance, but we've just still got to have more from him. That's, before he gets slammed. So I thought, I'll stick up for my man.
Yeah. Moving on. Me and George are gonna have it out at some point about Martinelli. I just think, yeah, we'll come to it. There was actually was writing down time codes of certain runs he wasn't making. A lot of it is what he doesn't do that annoys me more than anything. It's like Odegaard will pick up the ball in the pocket, and he's like just drifted out wide. It's like, well, make the run. Saka does that every time and does more defensive work than you. Anyway,
is it instruction? Like, what's going?
I don't know.
Maybe it is instruction, because it is odd sometimes. I'm like, especially because his attacking movement when he used to play as a center forward, whatever we want to say, whenever that last time was, is so good and intuitive.
Yep.
But like for some reason off the left, we're not seeing that at all.
Yep.
Like it's very much ball to feet, then attack. And
in fairness, he got a goal tonight. So if that's gonna happen, if he's gonna get the output, then absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Anyway, move on. I thought Havertz was, didn't have his absolute best night, but obviously got the goal. I think some of his, I actually quite like some of his movement out wide. I think it can go over the top at times, but I still do like it. But again, I'll just come back to his work rate. I just think honestly the work rate he does is unbelievable. And I think, again, coming back to what I said, that the freshness that he has is really key for that. So really good. Substitutions probably wasn't loads to talk about. Ethan looked good again, obviously.
Shocker.
Shock. Yeah. Will, when did you know? Will's a youth expert. When did you know about Ethan?
When he was like 14.
Crazy.
Him and Miles both, by the way. Like, I feel like obviously Miles doesn't get quite the hype because he's not an attacker, but I mean, the two of them have been like pretty much they've been talked about a lot for about 4 years.
A long time. And there's another 14-year-old
coming
through at the minute, which okay, we want to come to as many of your questions as we can before we finish off. There are nearly 1,600 of you watching live, which is very nice. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you want to check us out on Patreon for ad-free episodes and exclusive episodes, like Will and George's Youth Focus monthly, looking at the academy, you can do that. Also got some potential new features coming if we can work out the technology for it, which is going on in the Callan Podcast group chat. So we'll come to as many questions as we can. Can you guys see the questions as they're coming up?
Yep.
Okay, amazing, cool. So if you want to pick one, you can do that as well. Frederick Carlson, thank you for super chat. Martinelli is a great player in the wrong position. Yeah, I think Martinelli is a brilliant footballer. He is in the wrong position, and the question mark is that always everyone else's fault, or is it sometimes his fault? And I think I'm coming to the conclusion that a lot of the runs he's not making, a lot of the spaces he's not occupying, he needs to take more accountability for, and we need to start putting it on him a little bit more. And we're also, I think, using him in a certain way which I can see a massive improvement. But again, it's like, do you build a certain area of your team around him? Is he that talent? I don't know. Genuinely don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah. I go back and forth like crazy on him. I just can't. The head down dribbling, I feel like, just makes it so like aesthetically not pleasing to watch sometimes, that it's like hard.
And if he beat so far this season, Livramento, Dumfries, that's 17-year-olds. He didn't beat any of them. I'm not trying to slam him. I see the problems he has, but I'm also like, okay, but even the things he can control, just beating his man, he's not doing it consistently. So I don't get it.
I was gonna say that 17-year-old's also like not a defender, if
he's a wingback.
Not mistaken.
Yeah.
He's a
yeah.
but he's like truly a winger. Like because I was looking at him because he's been linked to like City and whatnot. I think he's a winger. I don't even think he's a wing back in this system, but I don't think he has any future in a defensive role. So that was a bit worrying, and he just kept doing the same head down, trying to get to the byline. Like never mixes it up.
Yeah. Junior, thank you for your super chat. Fit Partey is better than any version of Rice at 6. Alex, any thoughts?
Oh, that version of Party tonight, it's a conversation. However, I mean, any version of Rice, they give you so many different elements, and their profiles are very, very different. The one thing I would say is I love that interview. Do you remember there's an interview with Zinchenko, and he was asked, who's the best DM that you've played with? And he went with Partey over Rodri, and most people would have kind of laughed at that, but there's a good reason for it. There's line breaking passes, the ability to kind of. He just seems to extend at times. Do you know what I mean? Like when someone goes to go past him, the drop of the shoulder, he's able to get himself out of certain positions. They're different profiles. So it's hard for me to kind of agree or disagree with that, to be honest.
Right. If I see one more comment about that video, watch the video.
Not that it's a sore spot, Alex.
Oh my goodness me. Adam Wallace or Wallace? Sporting 4-1. Sporting 1 City. Sporting 4 City 1. 3 weeks later, Sporting 1 Arsenal 5. I can read. Yeah, really, really impressive. I will say, obviously, they've lost their coach. And I think they're obviously going through a bit of a transition. But I think we massively minimized their impact this evening in terms of the runners they have, in terms of the transitions that they want to do. I was impressed by how brave we were, to be fair, and how high we pressed, because they did get through us, but then we recovered really quickly. Honestly, the sort of the professionalism, the off-ball stuff is underpinned by a desire to want to defend. And Mikel talks about this all the time. These guys who are defenders first, they want to defend, they enjoy defending, and you can see that in our team. It's so nice. It's so nice. Will. Thoughts? Sorry, that was bad hosting from me, because normally George just picks up. But anyway.
No. I mean, just on the City point, it's like I'm not going to talk about Manchester City. They're going to be just fine. I don't think anyone needs to worry about anything. They're going to either come in first or second. So
rubbish.
There you go.
So have a look at the stats. 3.3 expected goals to Sporting's 1.2. Although weirdly, 13 shots to their 18. 9 shots on target to their 8. Interesting. Don't feel like that. Less possession.
How many shots were from 30 yards out?
Gyökeres shooting into the moon.
Exactly.
Less passes completed. Final third entries 45 to Sporting 60. 2.2 Sporting expected threat created to our 4.0. 46 deep touches to their 32. They actually had more zone 14 touches than us, which is interesting. We slightly edged them on progressive passes. Slightly further up on the PPDA. What do we think about the time wasting? It was quite a lot of it, which I get, but
I think it was loud in there to start that second half, and I think that we were just trying to. It was worth a couple yellow cards and lost possession to just kind of slow it down, because they were coming at us thick and fast. And honestly, credit to them, because they were getting absolutely crushed in that first half. They could easily come out and pass it around and called it a day, but they did go for it.
No, they did. They did. There's the shot map with the XG, and yeah, I think as Will was alluding to, a lot of the shots were sort of pot shots from outside the box. I think the ability for us to create these sorts of shots inside, like obviously the penalty, but that's where we score from. That will be the Trossard one, Martinelli, Havertz, and who would that one be? What was the last one? Who scored?
Trossard.
Oh, Gabriel. There it is. 59.6 to their 40.4 on the field.
Is that a bonus point in this new format?
It is. Yeah,
I think I'm pretty sure it is.
Seferin's a big fan of the Cannon podcast, and he says if you win on field, you win. It's also quite Christmassy. That. Do you know what I mean? In the color scheme.
Yep.
Even with the little stars. Yeah.
The little stars. Okay, I can't see you guys, so I can't tell if I'm cooking or not. So.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. Thanks, Will. And there's a tiny bit of field tilt we win here as well. I absolutely love that. That's really nice. That's really good stuff. Very good. Let's finish with 3 more questions. Will, why don't you start us off and choose your closing question?
Oh boy, I gotta find one.
And Alex, obviously.
I gotta find a question. Sorry, I have not been looking in the chat.
No, wait, no, that was again horrendous. I should have warned you about it earlier. Horrific hosting. Let's go for DOFs, who says, "Can you get the UCL table up? It should be taking shape now." Yes, I can. UEFA Champions League table. Still, do I understand it? It's a good question. Let me get that up for you. Here we are. So we've climbed to 7th in the UEFA Champions League table. Inter our top, Barcelona our 2nd, Liverpool our 3rd, Atalanta 4th, Leverkusen 5th, Monaco 6th, and Arsenal 7th. Where is City? 15th. 15th. No one gets that meme. Okay. Decent. Okay, that's nice. 7th, we'll take it. One above Sporting, and who again? By the way, Sporting I think we'll think of them as a team that we sort of brushed past, but they've been really good this season, and I think that it felt like it should have been a bigger test than it was. But we're Arsenal, baby. Will, have you found a question?
Yes. Someone asked, should we get a new striker or stick with Havertz?
Where was that one?
5:27 p.m. I don't know if that's helpful. Oh well, that's not what time it is for you, so that's incredibly unhelpful.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. 10:27. Where was it? Oh, here we go. From Bidsa, who says, should we get a new striker or stick with Havertz? Sorry, Alex, I'm covering your face.
That's fine.
And your thoughts, Alex?
I'm in the camp at the moment of I do think we need a new striker long term. I look at the reasons we bought Havertz, and it seems like he was bought to kind of be that kind of box crasher, left 8 player, which obviously hasn't worked out in the long run for us. And I'm not saying Havertz doesn't have his benefits, because he obviously does. Our ability to play that ball over the press from Raya to him is really, really helpful. Winning first balls, second balls. He gives us so many dimensions. However, I played as a striker, and
so we need you.
And the problem is, for me, it's like an inbuilt thing of, like, I watch Gyökeres, and I love the fact that although he's not the tidiest player on the ball, and I don't think that he would suit our system completely, he just gives you that different dimension. And if we can get a player in who is that kind of that big game player, or who gives us some extra pace, or, you know, I just feel that we've said it many times on here, transitional inevitability. And
there it is.
Sometimes I think Havertz lacks that. And I don't think it has to be necessarily a replacement for Havertz, but an option would be lovely. So
I honestly don't know how we do it, because I think we need someone with an inevitability in the box, but to do that, you have to play them at number 9. And then you kind of lose the Havertz thing. So I think it's going to have to come out wide, I think. And then I look at someone like a Rafael, but Martinelli's so important for us defensively and out of possession. I just love Leao. He's one of the players that I love.
Aesthetically, he's the most pleasing player to watch.
Yeah. Mate, the way he bursts is just
It reminds me of
So
like
nice.
2006. Like I just feel
Mate.
like I'm a kid watching the sport. It's incredible.
He's on sliders. Have you ever played sliders on FIFA? Literally, it's like his physical capacity is unbelievable. I think it would help us transitionally. But yeah, I just think so much of what makes us so good is the off the ball stuff, and I just don't know about that. Yeah, Will, your thoughts?
I do think you need somebody who can like score a goal from nothing. And like Havertz had that goal against Southampton that I feel like is the one goal maybe since he's joined Arsenal that was right outside the box where he kind of whipped it in with his left foot. I mean, Sesko to me is kind of like the player that really strikes me. Just think athletically and just he has a bit of a freakness to him that I really like in a striker. Like I kind of thought that's what we get with Osimhen, but that's obviously not happening or likely not happening. But I do think there does need to be a long-term replacement for Havertz. And I think Sesko is kind of like the right age profile where it's like Havertz not completely out of the side and it's good to have both of them. And the one issue I do have with if we buy a new striker, and I think Arteta tries to force Havertz into the side in midfield.
Yeah.
And that scares me more than just Havertz being our number 9. So
yeah, which I think would be, but you know, with the right fullback and in the right system, who knows? I don't know. I mean, I'm also like, I'm not against, look, if we're thinking about where to evolve the team, I know Havertz has come in the last however long, but you know, if it's again, I'm not saying this is right, but if it is the right thing for the team, we have to look at everyone, and that includes Havertz, that includes Declan Rice, it includes Saka. If the right thing for the team is to move him on, it isn't, then then we should do it. But do you know what I mean? Like, if the right thing for the team is to move away from Havertz, then we have to do it. I can't currently see the way forward, and I think it has, for me, I think it probably comes in as signing out wide. But again, I don't know how that works and what fullback you pair that with, whether that forces Havertz back. I don't know. It's hard to say. We'll finish there, but we are very grateful for you both for being here. Thank you so much, and for all of you in the chat as well for being here. Really good evening. Just some closing thoughts. Yeah, I'm so pleased to get that win. I think it's. I have said the whole international break, I feel like we're about to go on a run, and I hope this is the start of that run. We have a real opportunity. I don't think we now leave London until January. I think that's our fixture list. So we have an opportunity now to go ahead to get some points on the board. I'm going to say something bold, but I've said this before, and I said this actually a couple of weeks ago, and I got laughed at, but I'm going to say it again. I don't think we'll be that far away from Liverpool by the new year. I honestly think it could be a matter of points. They've got to play City. They've got Madrid. But anyway, regardless, as I've said the whole way, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to go. But these are huge steps to get back on the right way. And I'm really pleased. Alex, your thoughts?
First time we've scored 5 goals away in the Champions League since 2008. And no team has conceded fewer non-penalty shots on target than Arsenal this season.
Hell yeah.
So
all
when
or
in the Champions League, that is, yeah.
Nice.
So when we are feeling a little bit rubbish about the run that we had before that international break, I think we need to keep in mind how good this team really is. Just keep the faith. We'll be there. Come the end of the season, we will be there.
Will, final thoughts?
This fully fit side is as good as it gets in Europe right now. Just we saw it tonight, like that was pure dominance. Like there are certain players that you watch, like a Saliba. It's like I cannot believe that they play for Arsenal. Just after the last decade, it's like I don't want to overstep and say we're the best team in Europe, but when you play like that, I don't think there are many teams who are going to outperform the way we just played. It reminded me of the best Pep sides that we've seen in the past 5 years, and the key to that is fitness, and hopefully that'll continue. So that's all I can say.
We'll finish with a stat. Wins in November. Man City, 0. San Marino, 1. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for keeping it Arsenal.